preparing people for the future, for jobs, for how to take care of themselves as far as health goes, people remembering to brush their teeth and things like that. So we didn't take anything from K through 12. Higher education and college took our biggest cut. We took 5 from higher education and college because there are private scholarships in private places, things such as AmeriCorps, other than government funding. And it's our understanding that when that money goes to the college, that it's their decision on what is done with the money. So they can choose to take it from the student tuition, or they can take that money from other cuts. One of the alternatives is to make the colleges more energy conservancy, have more energy conservancy there. The lights don't need to be on in every hallway when the school is out. So things like that. The water fountains that run all night with the flashy lights, those don't need to be as eccentric. Healthcare took a bit of a cut. Unfortunately, we tried to spread it out across the board. Healthcare took 2. One of the proposals we have for the healthcare program is that, as far as welfare and stuff like that goes, it does get abused. So for the distributors of things like that to be more aware and to be a little more picky about it, and also to be more drug use aware. For example, some clinics and stuff do drug tests. If people aren't passing them, that might affect if they're getting their health care or not. That would put them open them for rehabilitation programs, such as some of the core programs. Public safety, we also took 2 from public safety. Now it says that has to be taken here from police officers and firefighters as far as their jobs are concerned. And we're proposing that affects more of their equipment, such as the fancy cars and some of the stuff. I mean, we still aren't proposing that they don't get nice things, but maybe not the most expensive things. Maybe look at their salaries, their budgets. And resources and environment, we took 1 away from that because it's already a pretty low number. And we're also proposing working with resources and environment and taking away from public and safety to take more from the firefighters and much from the police officers and open more core programs such as the firefighter programs and the core.
What is the percentage of the cut to higher education?
Oh, 5. Oh, the percent.
40%? We're cutting 40%?
We went down to 8 billion.
So you're essentially, Ms. Johnson, you are essentially suggesting a massive overhaul of the higher education master plan in the state of California at this point in time. With that type of cut, I believe you could eliminate every UC in the state, or you could eliminate every community college in the state. So which should we do?
Why would we have to eliminate them? They're still going to get money. So we're not saying we're not going to give them money. We're just going to give them less money. And they would figure out that budget as far as how that works.
I mean, on the surface, it seems like it makes sense, but then when you actually look at what the institutions do, you essentially would be taking one of the 3 legs of the stool, which is community colleges, UCs, and private colleges. You'd have to take one of them. I mean, that would be my understanding as a former educator.
Well, we were under the impression that by taking $5 billion, we would try to balance it out for the UCs, for the community colleges, that remainder, not necessarily saying, all right, we're just gonna save no more junior colleges, no more this. We're trying to balance it. So I mean, if UCs and junior colleges can still get money.
Senators, I worry about the future of our children.
I agree with you. I don't see a 40% cut as being a balance for that, especially since the administration has also come forward with scholarship proposals for those that are not citizens of the state or the country. How do we, what do we say to the people that want to go to college in California?
Well, there are scholarships that aren't government-funded scholarships. So if they took a lot of that tuition money out of scholarship programs instead of other fundings for the schools, then that would encourage more private scholarships and programs like AmeriCorps.
Are you aware that AmeriCorps is a government-sponsored and funded?
Yeah, that kind of
Actually,
Other private or scholarships.
I attended junior college, and in one of my classes was that every student in that class had to apply for outside, not state-funded scholarships. Every single student received a scholarship because the lack of students applying for outside scholarships. People are relying on state funds, on government funds. So tightening the budget would then force students to look outside beyond what's being handed to them. I was one of those students. I didn't know there was a big, humongous binder this big that we had to go through and pick. And we did. We went, and every single student got a scholarship, whether it was $50, $100, a couple $100.
So you're suggesting that there's plenty of money in the scholarship arena at this point, and that government subsidies should be drastically reduced?
They should, yeah.
I mean, colleagues, I would disagree. I mean, again, I worry about the future of our state. We're not going to develop the next Hewlett who's going to create the scholarships without actually educating our students.
If you notice, we didn't take anything out of K
if you
through
would,
12.
I'm sorry. Miss
Loisa?
A moment. I would suggest we look at some of the models in other countries where education is free to students and look at their education levels, which are much higher than ours. I question whether or not we have the capability of reducing our populace and their education in this way. I don't think that we will have scholarships in the future because we're going to be dumbing down our population.
I think that'll end up, putting us in a very non-competitive, place in America in terms of where California will be in terms of the ability to attract private businesses. Our university would be behind on R&D, those kinds of things that would be, drastically affected by the lack of, educated workers. And the ability for our institutions to do the proper research and development of new drugs, and being able to vet things through those kinds of institutions. Now I just don't know how you would propose to mitigate against that.
I understand your concern, but like I was trying to mention, we're not taking anything from K-12, and K-12 is the foundation of everything. If we don't educate our children, then they won't go to college. They won't need the money to go to college. It stays there. You educate your children, and you will have a better future, period. This is just this year. We can revisit this next year and the year after that. I understand the scale that is being presented right now, but I'm not saying every year we're going to just keep taking away from higher education, but to make this make sense for now, we have to think of our priority, the children, the youth. Then from there, college graduates, but you need to educate them. And I was one of those kids that was in a poor neighborhood. And if money was taken away from my school, we suffered, So leave money there, educate children, and hopefully the next year the budget will be better and there'll be more money for more schools and more teachers. But it's not, the world's not going to change that drastic where people are going to be like, oh man, we're not going to go to California or the U.S. anymore because of one budget. We can revisit it again next year, and maybe next year we'll have more money. But unfortunately, this is the best solution that we can come up with.
I'm going to stop her right there. I thought that was an excellent answer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good. I was hoping you'd do that.
And that is probably the best answer I've heard all day. And it's not necessarily that I would agree with the whole premise of that, but if you notice, she turned a real negative position. She was getting a real big pushback. Half of this budget is balanced on the higher ed and all of them. And she took that and she turned it into a positive by saying, we're educating our kids first. And this is our priority, and she knows that, that's our priority here. But I thought that was an excellent way to turn, and some of the best people that come and testify before us do that. And even if I don't agree with them, I at least admire the way that they do that. I'll give you an example. We just had a hearing with CAL FIRE, and CAL FIRE is being criticized for using funds that are outside of the state budget for equipment